Yeah, look at my feet.
Hi, this is Vicky of SingleMotherAhoy.com and you're listening to my podcast. I missed last week, I'm afraid. I have no excuse. I'm just a bit rubbish at organising myself and it got later and later in the day and I didn't get around to doing it. I need to be a bit more organised with my time and I apologise. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about my no sugar project, or being sugar free rather, and kind of how I'm getting on. So the first few weeks of being sugar free were kind of easy in the respect that I had read these books and seen these documentaries about how bad sugar was for us and what it was doing to our insides. And, you know, I read several books in quick succession, and it kind of really cemented the idea in my head that I wasn't going to do this. I wasn't going to eat any more sugar. And I cleared my kitchen out and I went around supermarkets looking at the backs of lots of packets, and I kind of got a good idea of what I could and couldn't eat from the shelves of what I would normally have eaten. And now I've kind of moved into this sort of maintenance stage where I'm not trying to wean myself off it anymore. I'm just trying to, or not even trying, I'm just staying off it. And I found that that's meant that I'm just not eating properly. I'm not fantastic at eating proper meals anyway. I've never been one for really eating breakfast. And, you know, lunch was always, you know, hit and miss, and then I'd have tea kind of late in the day and not really bother. But I found that because I'm not eating sugar, normally when if I was sitting at my desk and I hadn't had any breakfast and it would get to kind of lunchtime and I'd be hungry, I'd go and find something to snack on in the cupboard, you know, usually rubbish, but, you know, I would still be eating. Or I would make a salad and put loads of salad cream on it and things like that. I'm finding now, because my previously normal go-to snacks or foods are not there, they're not physically in my cupboard, and I've drawn this line in my head where I won't go and buy them. I'm just kind of skipping a lot of meals and I'm eating a lot of salt and shake crisps because they're the only thing that is in the house that I can snack on that doesn't involve a lot of faffing. I bought lots of stuff to make salads and I was making salads for a few days, but I found that I was like, great, I've got loads of lettuce and tomatoes and all that business, but I've got no protein to put on my salad. What protein do I want on my salad? I can't think of anything I want. I won't bother then, and I would just not eat it. And that is me all over. That's not just that I'm not eating sugar, that's just what I've been like for years, and it is something I need to sort myself out with, really. But I'm finding that because I'm not eating the sugar, I'm kind of, I don't know, it's making me kind of despondent about eating altogether. Like, not that it's taken like the joy out of eating, but I always had this thing, like when Samara had gone to bed, I would come downstairs, have my tea, and then have like a pudding or something, like a little treat. And I would do it every day, which is terrible, I would have a little treat every day. But because I don't have that, because there's nothing nice for pudding, there's nothing to compel me to stand up and cook a meal in the first place. And I need to get away from that. Somebody suggested to me, why don't you have raspberries as a treat? And I'm a bit like, well, we have raspberries in the house and we eat them for breakfast, Samara eats them for breakfast, so that's kind of not a treat because it's, you know, they taste nice and everything, but it just doesn't feel like a treat. So I'm thinking, you know, when I used to have raspberries as a treat, they would come with ice cream. So I'm thinking perhaps I'm going to buy some whipping cream or something, I suppose, and just see if I can figure out something that I can do, because I have to eat properly. I have to start eating proper meals because I find I've been just snacking on rubbish, and the closest thing I've come to meals in the last few days is Nen's cheese oatcakes with cream cheese on top, and that's not really a meal, is it? So I need to sort myself out. I bumped into a friend the other day and she kind of said, you know, you look like you've lost weight, your skin looks, a lot of people have said that my skin looks better, which is nice. Because I was sick of looking like a teenager at the age of 33, to be honest. But, you know, she kind of said, you look nice and blah, blah, and we talked about it. And I said that I'd not been eating sugar. And we talked about kind of the mentality and the language that you use. So I said before that the book I was reading, in Sweet Poison Quit Plan, he says that you shouldn't say I'm not eating sugar, I'm giving up sugar, because that immediately puts you in the frame of mind of being deprived of something. You say I'm going sugar free and it sounds more positive. So I've been kind of saying that to myself, I'm going sugar free, I'm sugar free and all that business. But she said to me, ideally it'd be nice to get to a stage where you could have it in the house and take it or leave it, and you could think, you know, I could have that. If I wanted to, I could have that, but I choose not to, kind of thing. And have that kind of feeling about it, that if, not that it's out of bounds, but that you can have it if you want to. And I was like, yeah, that'd be nice, except why would I have it in the house if I don't intend to eat it? I do have sugar in the house. There's sugar in the tea and coffee pot things in case people come round, but it's, that pot is never opened, because unless somebody comes around and asks for sugar in their tea, and nobody has sugar in their tea these days, it's just not used. But yeah, I can kind of see her point, that to get to that stage, so you're not depriving yourself, you're saying, I could have that if I wanted and I don't want it. And I think I'm kind of at that stage. On Friday, for those who don't know, I was celebrating. It was 3 years since Samara's father left us, and so I was celebrating being a single mother for 3 years. And a few people said, oh, that, that deserves a pat on the back, that deserves a cake or a drink or whatever. And I thought on Friday afternoon, when I went to collect Samara from nursery, I thought, yeah, you know what, actually, I am celebrating. I've been doing this for 11 weeks. Why not just have a piece of chocolate? So I went into Thornton's and I bought one of their square chocolate bar things. And after Samara had gone to bed, I had some tea, and then I opened it up and started eating it. And it tasted nice, but it wasn't like, oh God, I've missed this so much. It was just like, oh, it tastes okay. And by the end of and it was only one of those square things, but by the end of it, I felt like I was kind of not really enjoying it and kind of forcing it down more so that it wasn't left hanging around in the house, kind of thing. And it just wasn't enjoyable, really, by the time I finished it. And then, to top it off, I went to bed and woke up the next morning with what I can only describe as a hangover. I had, when you have a headache, and when you bend over to pick something up and you feel like your brain kind of ricochets around and bumps into your inside of your skull, that's how it felt. And I had that for 2 days. And it was just it made me realise, this is why you've given this shit up, because this is what it does to you. But also, it made me really stop and think, for years, I could have eaten 2 or 3 of those bars of chocolate in one evening, without blinking, without thinking twice, without pausing for breath. After having had an absolute shed load of junk throughout the day, ketchup on my dinner and sugar-filled this, that and the other, and Coca-Cola and cinnamon lattes and just all sorts of everything, and probably a pudding after my tea, and then chocolate as well. And I would not have thought twice about it, and it would not have made me feel any more sick than just having eaten too much kind of feeling. It certainly wouldn't have given me a 2-day headache, and it just made me think, gosh, your body's already adapted to not having this substance in it, and look what damage it's done. And it kind of made me think, like, it was doing that sort of damage before and you just weren't noticing it because it was constant. I've read books that have said that fructose kind of suppresses the immune system and increases the release of cortisol around the body, so you feel kind of permanently stressed and you've got a lowered immune system. There's a guy that said that, ask any doctor in the States and he'll tell you that in the week after Halloween, when kids have been dosed up with like candy and chocolate on Halloween, in the week after Halloween, doctors' offices are always full of sniffly children who've caught colds because the chocolate has lowered their immune system and they've caught something. And I was kind of thinking, like, that actually, that kind of makes sense, but also that would explain, like, I've had, I know Samara's always got a cold, she's at nursery, and I've caught several of her colds, and obviously at Christmas I was quite ill, and I was eating a lot of sugar because it was Christmas, and which might explain why I was ill for quite as long as I was. And I just think it's kind of interesting, but it's also, I've met a lot of people, when I tell people that I'm sugar-free, these people in shops go, oh, that's brave, and I go, well, not really. You tend to get one of two responses. You either get, that's really interesting, tell me more about it, what are you doing, why are you doing it? Or you get kind of resistance to it, where people are they almost take it like personally, as if they own a sugar plantation or something. Like, why would you do that? And they kind of try and persuade you that you're wrong to do that and you shouldn't be cutting sugar out of your diet, and that it's perfectly okay to eat some sugar, and that, especially if somebody's done some sort of weight loss program that's been successful for them, they tend to be, not everybody, but some of the people I've kind of talked to have been very kind of, well, no, I've done like Weight Watchers, Slimming World, whatever, and it's worked well for me, and really you shouldn't be cutting out sugar. What you should be doing is following this complicated system of points and sins and saving up your sins for the weekend so you can go out and get leathered or whatever. And kind of, I kind of feel like, well, I'm not necessarily really doing this to lose weight so much as just to be healthy, and the weight loss is just a side effect. But also, in that respect, it kind of reminds me of parenting. Like, when people give you advice about parenting and you don't take it, they tend to take it personally, as if they're kind of going, wow, I did that with my child. Are you saying that I'm wrong? Are you judging me because you're not doing what I said you should do? And you kind of get that a bit with diets, with people who've kind of been really successful at some sort of a weight loss thing. They tend to take offence if you don't want to do what they've done. Like, what, you don't want to lose as much weight as I have then? And I've had a few people that have been like that, and a few people that have kind of said that, it's perfectly fine to eat a bit of sugar here and there, and yeah, of course it is. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying that I am not going to. That my aim is to be completely sugar-free. And it kind of strikes me as just odd that, it's one thing to go, yeah, that sounds really interesting, tell me more about it, but to be kind of judging me for what I'm doing, I just think it's a bit, I suppose we do generally though, don't we? We judge people for what they do, for what they eat, for what they say, for what they wear, whatever. It struck me as a bit odd, really, and it's kind of an odd reaction to someone saying that. I've had comments on my posts have been, perfectly reasonable, but I've had other things where people seem to have been getting at me, and I just think, well, each to his own. I don't really care what anybody else does. So this week has been busy. The last couple of weeks have been busy. Last week I was in London for the day, and I was really worried, thinking, and I'd kind of resigned myself beforehand, thinking I'm not going to kind of tell myself that I'm not going to eat sugar, because I was going to a studio, and when you're in a studio you're kind of at the mercy of whoever's buying the lunch that day, and I kind of didn't want to be in a position where I was just going to sit there and not eat all day because there was not food for me to eat, kind of thing. And I didn't want to be one of those difficult people that goes, no, I only eat organic Yak's yogurt, whatever. So I kind of resigned myself to it. But actually, they put on a really nice meal for us. Lots of salads and stuff. They did bring in cakes, and none of us touched the cakes because we were all full up from dinner. And I kind of did okay. And then when I got home in the evening, it had been such a long day, I just didn't have the energy to cook anything at all, so I just had crackers for tea. So although I'd had a nice lunch, I'd kind of spoiled it with my tea. But I've had that a lot lately, the last couple of weeks. I've been so hectic, running around, that I kind of forget to sit down and have lunch, especially when you work from home. You don't kind of have a set lunch break, and if you're not meeting somebody for a lunch date, it's kind of difficult. And that goes back to what I was saying before, that I need to kind of put something in place. I need to structure my day a bit more when I'm working from home, I think. Alright, that's enough gibbering from me. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got anything to add, do feel free to leave comments. I'll leave links to the books and things I've been reading underneath. And I will be back next week. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, here come my feet.